Emergency ventilator. Nowadays, our world has undergone a big change due to the epidemic of the coronavirus, which affects the human respiratory system. At that time, ventilators were in demand and the price was quite high. This is the origins of the inventions of a ventilator that has a low cost and can actually be used. The respiratory system is responsible for the exchange of gas in the living organism. The main respiratory organ in humans is the lungs. The human respiratory system comprises a pair of lung, trachea, bronchi, alveoli, and diaphragm. Lungs are situated in thoracic chambers. Exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between the blood and air takes place here. Gas exchange. The air will pass through the bronchi before entering the lung. The bronchi are like a network of tubes that keep branching into smaller tubes called bronchioles. Or at the end of each bronchiole, you will find the balloon-like structure called alveoli. The alveoli provide a surface for the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. The alveoli contains a massive network of blood vessels. When we breathe in, we lift our lips and flatten our diaphragm. As a result, the chest cavities will become larger. The mechanism of the ventilators. First, we have to start with nasogastric tube go through patient nose and into the stomach. Second, endotracheal tube go through patient mouth and into the windpipe. Third, mechanical ventilator blow air or air with increased oxygen through tube into the patient airway. Fourth, air flowing to the patient pass through the humidifier which warm and moisture the air. And the last one is handheld air flowing away from the patient. The mode of the ventilators. First, we start with control mechanical ventilators. CMV. Mechanical breathe rate, tidal volume, and inspiratory flow rate and pattern are all selected and set by operator and cannot be alerted appreciably by patient effort to breathe. The second is CMV with positive and expiratory pressure to beep mode. Exhalation stop at a predetermined pressure above ambient. If the beep is adequate, it mechanically stabilizes and prevents alveolar collapse secondary to acute respiratory distress syndrome (ARDS). The third one is assisted mechanical ventilator (AMV). Tidal volume and inspiratory rate are prescribed and set by the operator and cannot be alerted regardless of patient efforts. The patient is, however, completely responsible for determining breathing rate by physically triggering the ventilator. And the last one is assist control ventilator A/C. This is more combine AMV with the CMV backup. This is accomplished using two trigger variable and initiating a breath to whichever occurs first. The operator sets tidal volume and inspiratory rate and pedal, CMV rate and trigger sensitivity. After each beat, regardless of which variable triggered the beat, the CMV rate timing clock is restarted. At this point, if a spontaneous effort triggers a beat before the CMV timer left, the beat is pressure triggered and the CMV clock restarted. If the patient fails to beat or cannot spontaneously trigger, the CMV clock will run down and the next beat will be timed trigger. Using the A/C strategies, patients may breathe as rapidly as they deserve, but never at a rate lower than the CMV mechanical rate setting. Disassembly and assembly of emergency ventilators. This picture for disassembly of the ventilators. And this one is assembly of the emergency ventilators. And the last one is emergency ventilator work in the auto mode. Next is the codings. First of all, the ventilator coding has separated to two parts. First is for transcender and second is for the receiver. For the transcender, we use ESP32 to be the transcender. And we use ESP32 with Bring applications. First, we have to define the Bring application code. We have to have the template, name, and token. Next, we have to define the name of the Wi-Fi that we use and the password of the Wi-Fi that we use. And the next one is the define integer that we have to use in this code. And the next one is Bing Write. Bing Write is we have to define the Bing Write because of we have to define the data set that we have to use with every parameter in our ventilator. Like IE ratio, we define in a V5 dataset. So when we have to do the slider in the Bring application, we have to choose the V size dataset because of the set of IE ratio. And next one is when on. When on, we used V18. And next one is mode. We use V4. And the last one is respiration rate. We use V19. So next one is voice setup. And this is voice send package. For A is respiration rate, B is for tidal volume, C is for IE ratio, D is for when on, and E is for mode. That's it for the ESP32 code. Next is the part of receiver code. It from the Arduino code. First, we have to define the head of code and define 0 pin and max pin. And define the integers, adjust parameter that we have to use in the ventilators, same that we define in the ESP32. And then it's voice setup. Next is while loop. If the ventilator is run okay, it will show run in the monitor. Next is while ventilator run. While ventilator run, we use for set the speed of the motor just for 50 to 150 or 200 depend on the battery that we use and motor that we use in the our ventilators. But for me, just 100 is perfect. Next is while acid ventilator runs, used from the acid mode of the ventilators. So we have to estimate the value. If the estimate value lower than 200,000, ventilator runs. For every estimate value, we have to find out because of every single ventilator not be the same estimate value. So for me, just like 200,000 is a perfect estimate value, just lower than 200,000. So next is this is the data that we can receive. And then this part is from convert the data that we receive from the first part to be the parameter that we setting before. And this one is switch cage of IE ratio and finished from the AV code. Next is auto mode of the ventilator. So it will run automatically based on the value that we set. And this is automatic mode too, but it have the IE ratio and BMP settings. For the IE ratio, it show the breathe in vs breathe out, and for BMP, if we change it to higher level, it will pull up and pull out quickly. For the acid mode, we have to setting acid mode, and then when we breathe in, it will be run ventilators based on lower than estimate value that we set in the code.